Hello, this is Beck. Welcome to my channel. Today I'll be drawing a D&D character based on the roll of the dice.
Let's bring out the Tower of Destiny!
So we have a Dwarf Cleric, or Dwarven Cleric. In D&D, dwarves are described as bold and hardy. They're skilled warriors, miners, and workers of stone and metal. So you've probably seen them depicted in The Hobbit more than Lord of the Rings, but there's one or two dwarves in Lord of the Rings as well. Very similar to that depiction. They're around the same size as halflings, I believe, but they're much more stocky and sturdy. So racial traits for dwarves include a +2 to Constitution, Dark Vision, Dwarven Resilience, Dwarven Combat Training, and Stone Cutting. Now, if you don't know what those last ones are, because I didn't, Dwarven Resilience means you have advantage on saving throws against poison and you have resistance against poison damage. Dwarven Combat Training means you have proficiency with Battle Axe, Hand Axe, Light Hammer, and Warhammer. Tool Proficiency means you gain proficiency with the artisan's tools of your choice, and that choice is Smith's Tools, Brewer's Supplies, or Mason Tools. Stone Cutting means whenever you make an Intelligence (history) check related to the origin of stonework, you are considered proficient in the history skill and add double your proficiency bonus to the check instead of your normal proficiency bonus. That last one seems like a very specific trait to have, and it just, for me at least, seems like something that you would forget that you have when it comes up, unless you're really, really pushing to find a scenario where you can use it. But that's one of those few things where, as a DM, you might decide to maybe find something where it's very important that someone be able to understand the history of some stone cut item in order to solve the master puzzle. So instead of it just being a thing of like, yes, that was a plaque that was engraved many years ago, the information on it is accurate, well done. It will be something along the lines of the history of this stone indicates that it was stolen from this very important place, and only you can figure out where that place is because you are a dwarf with stone cutting ability. Something like that. You get it. The physical description, as the D&D official guidebook states it, is dwarves are short and stout. Though they stand well under 5 feet tall, dwarves are so broad and compact that they can weigh as much as a human who stands nearly 2 feet taller. Their courage and endurance are also easily a match for any of the larger folk. That's not a physical description, but well, it's fine. Dwarven skin ranges from brown to a paler hue tinged with red, but most common shades are light brown or deep tan like certain tones of earth. Their hair is worn long but in simple styles and is usually black, grey or brown, though paler dwarves often have red hair. Male dwarves value their beards highly and groom them carefully. And if you ask the internet, female dwarves also value their beards, although I suppose not all of them have one. This one doesn't. I will draw a female dwarf with a beard at some point because it's fun. But not today. Not today. Now, clerics are a magical class in D&D. They're chosen by a specific god, or they've chosen a specific god who they worship, and in exchange they get literal magic powers. and that's pretty cool. There are a lot of gods in the D&D universe, so the step one when you're making a cleric is to decide which god your character worships or has this relationship with. In this case, I decided that my dwarven character, who we should call... trying to think of a name where it's related to mining because of the dwarvenness, but also like treasure and gemstones and stuff, because the god that I've chosen for this character to follow is a god of abundance and wealth. Let's go with Opal. So her name is Opal, and the god that she's following is Plutus. Plutus. I don't know why I struggled to pronounce that. Plutois. Plutus is from the Roman... I should remember this because I literally just looked at it. Greek religion. He's from the Greek religion. He is the god and personification of wealth. And in a lot of the mythology, he also chooses who is deserving of wealth. So I think that's a really interesting god for a D&D character to follow. He's not on the official D&D list, but there are Greek and Roman gods put on there as an example. So you can choose any god you want. It doesn't change the mechanics of what they're doing. It does, however, pose a conundrum because the domains that you can choose as a cleric, the sort of area of general following, I guess you'd call it, they don't have one that's like the abundance domain. So I could homebrew something like that and make it up based on what the others offer, but I ended up just saying that she's in the twilight domain because it has to do with sort of flourishing in the darkness. So a lot of the gods in there are sort of like gods of night or gods of the kind of darkness and suffering side of things, which doesn't really apply. But obviously when you're in mines and underground, it's quite dark. So that's why I went in the direction of Twilight Domain. Clerics who serve the Twilight Domain deities bring comfort to those who seek rest and protect them by venturing into the encroaching darkness to ensure the dark is a comfort, not a terror. So basically they do very well in dark places. So in the Twilight Domain, you get proficiencies with martial weapons and heavy armor. You get certain special cleric spells that are catered to that area. You get something called Eyes of Night, which means your dark vision range becomes 300 feet instead of 60 feet. And in that radius, as with any dark vision, you can see dim light as if it were bright and darkness as if it were dim. As an action, you can magically share this dark vision with a willing creature you can see within 10 feet of you. You also have something called Vigilant Blessing, which means you give one creature you touch, which can just be yourself, advantage on your next initiative roll, which means you could potentially move sooner during combat than you would otherwise. Looking at these ability scores, we can see that she is average in her strength and dexterity and also in her wisdom. So the +0 means you're not better than average, you're not lower than average, you're pretty normal in those areas. And I guess the reason behind this would be I would think that she'd worked in the mines growing up, and that should give her additional strength and dexterity as well. But I think this might be a case of she left quite young to pursue her cleric business. So she grew up in the mines, but she never actually worked in the mines. So she didn't develop that sort of level of burliness. She has a +1 to Constitution, which would have just come from eating the meals served to her from her mother and father. I have heard tell from the internet that dwarven food is probably quite spicy. Because they do have such a high constitution, it might take a little bit for them to really taste food, and they don't like bland meals, but you know, you can make up your own reasoning behind it. Dwarves tend to be quite high in constitution anyway. I obviously haven't added in racial proficiencies, but I think that she's a bit hardy, she's just not that strong. And those are different things. So she doesn't get weary super easily, but she also can't really push a boulder aside like maybe her older siblings can, or anyone else who's grown up actually working in the mines. She has this +2 to intelligence and +2 to charisma, so I think that maybe she was one of those odd ducks amongst her family and in her community of dwarves who lived underground in the mines, where she was far more interested in reading things and remembering probably historical tales and then possibly reenacting them, getting into a little bit of the charisma there. So like intelligence is memory, and things that require intelligence. It's self-explanatory, but I always feel like I need to explain what each of the abilities actually means. I'm sure you get it. But have I not covered any of these abilities? Not really. It just, to me, it's always a better indication of what their background is than if you just pick one of the D&D backgrounds. Yeah. So call to adventure, like why is she joining an adventuring party? I think it is, as with most clerics, that she's spreading the word of her god, but also from the perspective of she wants to get out and adventure and meet a vast range of people to help determine which of them deserve wealth and maybe which of them don't. Maybe she's taking it that extra step to which of them should have their wealth taken from them. And I think she comes from a community where they all worship Plutus. They would hold the gems that they're digging from the earth in very high regard, and they would probably worship him as like, thank you for putting these gemstones here and giving us this land that's full of abundance that we're mining into. So when she's out adventuring and she encounters someone who's, you know, evil or just a bit of a dick, she probably would try to steal from them, and her dexterity might not make her very good at it, but that doesn't change her objectives. I think she would join any adventuring party that is on the hunt for treasure. That's obviously a great call to adventure, especially given a god that is all about abundance and wealth. So she might even decide to join them from the perspective of wanting to observe and see if they actually deserve the wealth that they're seeking. So she's silently or not so silently judging them during the journey. She may even have plans to double-cross them and steal everyone's wealth for herself or for her community, for her god. Which might not be something that the character shares with the other characters, but definitely should be something that the player shares with the other players, because it's really not fun to blindside your fellow players if you're planning a double cross. It's more fun when you're all in on it, because it is a role-playing game. It's not like a board game where the objective is to be a dick to one another. But yeah, this is Opal. Let me know what you think of her in the comment section below, and I hope you enjoyed this video today. I think she came out really well, if I do say so myself. Yeah, thank you for watching, If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, and if you're already subscribed, I hope you have a fantastic week, and I will catch you next time. Bye!